Have you ever felt so exhausted and drained that you're left questioning if you're burning out? Hi, I'm Flic Taylor, and my passion for burnout and self-care came about when I became a mental health writer who'd lost her mental health to extreme burnout. I know, the irony is not lost on me. Join me as I host Everyday Burnout Conversations, the honest podcast that shares the stories of others from all walks of life as they recover from, manage and avoid burnout by prioritising their mental health and well-being. Expect to hear fascinating conversations, plus positive and actionable tips and tricks that can help you make the simple life changes your mental health will thank you for. Episodes will be delightfully wrapped up in some epic truths and great humour. So, enjoy! In today's episode, I share an everyday burnout conversation with Steph Douglas. Steph is a mum of 3 and a business owner. She launched her company, Don't Buy Her Flowers, in 2014 after having her first baby and being inundated with floral bouquets. Steph appreciated that traditional gifts for new mums weren't always what they truly needed at a vulnerable and overwhelming time. So, rather than give her friends something that requires looking after, Steph opted to give the new mums in her circle something that would encourage them to embrace a little TLC instead. And this got her thinking. Don't Buy Her Flowers now prepares and delivers care packages as a thoughtful alternative to flowers, offering both bespoke and curated packages covering a range of occasions. The strong focus on encouraging the recipient to take a little bit of time for themselves remains at the core of Steph's empathic brand and compassionate vision. Now, you may also know Steph from her honest and down-to-earth Instagram feed, where she shares what life looks like behind the scenes of growing a successful business alongside the reality of family life and motherhood. In this episode, Steph talks about how she manages her brushes with overwhelm, the signs of exhaustion she keeps watch for, the pandemic pressures that so many mums have been handling, what the mental load looks like when you're nurturing a family alongside growing a business, and the things in life that Steph has found herself having to give up worrying about. I love this chat with Steph because, well, you know what? When you're dancing with burnout, overwhelm and exhaustion, sometimes a sense of solidarity to help you feel less alone in your experience can bring just as much comfort as the specific actions and solutions. And quite frankly, this chat will leave you feeling like you're listening in on a heartfelt, honest, almost confessional, warm and funny chat between 2 women in your neighbourhood coffee shop. So, without further ado, get set to enjoy an everyday burnout conversation with Steph Douglas. It's so lovely to be able to sit and chat with you this morning. It's been incredible watching your company grow over the years, because I've been following you for a few years now. And I've been really wanting to talk to you about burnout, because not only are you a dynamic business owner and mum of 3, but your business is centered around empathy and that essence of thoughtfulness when someone is having a really rubbish time. So I was wondering if perhaps you can start us off by talking about your brilliant business.
Not a problem. Okay, hello.
Hello.
So Don't Buy Her Flowers is a thoughtful gift company, and it started in 2014, so we've just celebrated 7 years, which
wow.
is crackers, yeah, which feels like a million years and overnight all in one. But the idea for Don't Buy Her Flowers came when I had my first baby, who is nearly 11. And he, when he was born, I think, like most people, when you have your first baby, it's quite a shock, it's quite overwhelming. And I received loads of flowers, and they were all really well meant. People sent them because they were trying to think of me. So it wasn't, I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but it just kind of occurred to me that that is the go-to gift for new mums, or it was. I think it probably still is in lots of ways. I still regularly get people sending me like pictures of their newborn surrounded by bouquets.
Really?
Help, why none of my family and friends got the message? But yeah, so that was the idea came when so that was 2010, and lots of my friends were having babies at that time, so I would send them like some chocolates and a magazine, and it was all really simple. nothing too fancy, but really it was kind of to say to them, this is about you. I hope you're okay. I suppose it was just recognition that actually having a baby is quite a big deal. And I, for whatever reason, it's that thing that people say, is that, why did nobody tell me? It's not that no one's telling you, but you're not going to hear it. I think, well, it's both, isn't it? You can't, I think, like my best friend has just had her first baby. She's turned 40 and had her first baby. And she's seen what I've talked about and what I've written about. So she's well aware of it, but she still was like, it's still a shock. You can't prepare. There's only so much you can prepare for it. And it's quite overwhelming, and you're not getting as much sleep, and you feel so, it's all encompassing, especially that first baby. So that was kind of where the idea came from. And I went on and had another baby. So my second baby was 21 months later, and that felt the same, frankly, a little bit less unknown, but still it was a lot and it was overwhelming. And then there was a toddler on the scene. So, and it just, that was the idea of Don't Buy Her Flowers. It was Gifts for New Mums. It was like, what could you send somebody that encourages them to have a sit down, take a bit of time for themselves, really simple, like a care package. We did things like thermos mugs because you don't have a hot cup of tea when you've had a baby, and hand cream because you're suddenly washing your hands or washing something or wiping bums constantly, and you've suddenly got these crinkly old lady hands, like all things that were really thought through for that phase for new mums. And that was what the business started at. And we stuck to that for a while, but really quickly we had people saying, oh, I want to send a gift for someone who's poorly or someone who lost somebody, or birthdays, get well. Like it was kind of really any occasion, but when someone just wanted to be a bit thoughtful. And that same idea of encouraging them to have a bit of time for themselves. And that's the kind of key bit that I have to make sure we don't lose, because it's very easy to be distracted by lovely gifts and nice things. And actually it still needs to come back to, what does somebody need if they need a bit of looking after, a bit of TLC? And that can come in lots of different forms, because it might be that they really like beauty stuff. It might be like they need a book, because that will completely, help them to switch off and sit down, and stuff that you kind of, as an adult, you do less of maybe, or when life gets busy, you do less of. Or gin and tonic, or cashmere socks, or just all these things. So what we offer now, we have a lot more products on offer, a lot more occasions that we can cover. We just added teen, we've got a dog package coming for Christmas. That one's slightly different because that's about Christmas really, and our customers again are asking for it. But yeah, teens, kids, weddings, especially because 2020 and 2021 have just been a nightmare for anyone trying to get married. So all about that kind of care and unwind and that stuff. So that's what it is. That's what it is now. And and I started it in 2014. So I left my job in the May, and we started in the November. But I started with a blog before I started the business, which was, I was writing about a lot like about motherhood and overwhelm and relationships and kind of all things that it's not directly linked to Don't Buy Her Flowers, but actually it is, because it's the same things that most of our customers are feeling and going through. And that kind of gave me a real push, I think, to start the business, because so many people related to it. And it was like, well, if they relate to that, they will relate to the idea behind the business, because it was all about the fact that there's a certain point in your life when you feel really overwhelmed, and knowing someone's thinking of you and they're encouraging you to take a bit of time, and they've seen that and they recognise that, is really powerful, more powerful than I realised actually when we started.
I'm not surprised, Steph, because I was listening to a podcast recently of you sharing that this really shows how much empathy and compassion you have, because you were saying that you're very particular in the products you use in your packages, and that someone had recommended journals because a lot of people are journaling and it can be very helpful. And I loved having been like flat out on the floor in burnout, the fact that you said, but I don't want to give people something else to do. I want to encourage them to relax. And that, to me, I was just like, oh, this is why we need people like you in the industry.
You know, it's interesting because I was talking to Ellie Gibson from the Scummy Mummies.
Oh, I love her.
She journals, and I was like, what? Because I was like, well, that's not on brand for them. She doesn't journal. I think she writes down 3 things, like a sort of gratitude every night. And she's like, actually really helps me. And that's fine. I just think at certain points when I am feeling overwhelmed, and I have to be honest, I feel overwhelmed quite often, quite a lot of the time, especially the last couple of years. And it feels like something I have to do, and then I won't do it, and then I'll beat myself up for not doing it. It's the same as, those baby books. When if you have a baby and you get the book, and I've got 3. I've got one that I did for Buster, who's my firstborn, and it has some pictures and some writing in, not a lot, but some. Mabel is my secondborn, and there is not a lot in there. And the one for Frank is completely empty. And I just didn't have it. And I know I'll regret it. And that's I know at some point I'm like, damn it, I should have done that. But maybe I'll also go, man, you were really tired then. You didn't have time to do it.
And you were living your life and you're being present with your kids. Do you know what I mean? You're not there going, like you're taking Frank to a museum and having a great morning with him. You're not there going, okay, sit there while I just sit. Right. I'm saying that from a point of view, I've got no baby books. My kids are 14 and 12 now. So I had the Kath Kidston beautiful books. Darling, they're empty.
Yeah.
I do have memories.
And they are lovely gifts, and some people would love them. I think the thing that I was thinking is, if someone's giving that to somebody, you don't necessarily know which way they will go. Like if they would love to do that or they wouldn't. So if you give it to them and then they are someone who sits and going, oh shit, that's another thing I should be doing, then they're not going to feel good about that gift, and that's obviously where my priority. So
yeah, I love that. And your gifts really are about encouraging people to stop and just focus on themselves, which, God, anyone living through the pandemic, any working mum needs.
Such a crazy, and I mean, it's still pretty busy, and everything's so uncertain again at the moment, it feels. One of my kids is off with COVID at the moment.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's okay, he feels much better today, but it's just rotten, and we're all like, are we going to come down with it? What happens next? So, we've had to cancel Frank's birthday party, which was going to be this weekend, because I don't think people want to hang out with the brother of the kid with COVID. Like, it's...
Yeah.
So we're still in really uncertain time, and that 100% adds to that overwhelm, because even if we're not aware of it, I think we're in the back of our minds trying to process it. Like, Frank's not missing out. He's not having a birthday party. He's 5. He's 4. He's never had a birthday party, which is why I was a bit gutted. Right. He's missed the last 2. See, like the ones where you would start to have a party, like last year or whatever, he didn't have. But he doesn't know, and you don't grow up to be an adult and go, oh, I never had a party. Like, he'll have a party at some point.
Exactly.
It's a fairly privileged existence that you get parties. We're all right. But there is a part of me that's sad about it.
Of course.
And you kind of think, there's all these little things going on in our heads that we're trying to process and get our heads around. And I don't think we can. I think there's so much of last year that's...
And I think also, I don't know about you, but when the pandemic hit, there were certain businesses that just went into overdrive. And I know I was writing at that point as a content writer of mental health. And so we just went bonkers. And any emotions, anything that was happening then, you just put on a shelf because you were just working like a machine. And I think, a lot of people are essentially feeling really burnt out and exhausted and overwhelmed,
We kicked off. Mother's Day was on the Sunday, and the lockdown announcement happened on the Monday back in March 2020. And so from earlier that week, it started to grow and grow and grow and grow. And we were just like, bloody hell. And we'll probably finish next week because people will stop, or they'll calm down, or they'll be preserving money, because we were thinking, people are going to be losing jobs and stuff. And it just didn't. It just kept going and kept going. So my first lockdown was actually really busy with work. And because I wasn't having to go anywhere else because there wasn't anything else I could do, I could put 100%, or, I left some percent for Doug and the kids, but I had a lot of focus on the business. And then that summer when I went on holiday, I properly crashed, and I realised that I had just been racing against myself for that whole first 5 months or whatever it was. So I think whatever your situation is, and I'm not complaining, because I was really lucky. Like, we were very, very lucky that the business was able to stay open. We had a product that people wanted. we'd moved into a big warehouse a few months before, which was fortuitous. Like if we hadn't been in that space, we would have had to, we would have had to massively restrict what we could deliver. So there were loads of things aligned for us that made, I was very lucky. It's not pure success, it's not because
yes,
you know what I mean. And I think that's really important to recognise, because there were other people who might have had an idea or a product that is brilliant, but they happened to have to shut their shop, or it's face to face and they couldn't see anyone, or it was difficult for lots of people.
Yeah, and burnout, it's very individual to that person. And I think I've spoken to other people who have been burnt out on the back of like absolute fabulous success, because you just put all your energy into it, Steph, and then one day you're kind of like, oh God, I've got nothing left.
Sometimes you're probably less kind to yourself, because you're like, well, I need to meet this opportunity because I'm so bloody lucky that this has happened for us. Yes. So I can't complain, and I can't stop, and I can't slow down. So I guess in some ways you're probably even less kind to yourself.
Yes. And I think, a lot of people have that kind of inner critic who is just like, beating you on the back, like, just come on, keep going, more. It's ever so hard to kind of step out of yourself and go, and I'm going to now do these things to look after myself in order to continue. You're just in it, aren't you? You're just kind of working. So I know you spoke a little bit on social media about how you needed a break in the summer because you were feeling kind of exhausted. And I was just wondering if you could share a little bit about that, and what signs made you kind of think, oh, I need a break?
Probably crying a lot.
I know, yeah. Yes, that's like emotional exhaustion.
Yeah, I get angry as well. I get quite irritable. And this is definitely something that has been a 2020, 2021 thing. I mean, not that I've never been angry before, but I have felt much quicker to get irritated with everyone and everything, to be honest. And then to tears, because I feel bad, because I've not been very, I don't feel like I've been a good mum or a good partner or a good boss or a good, all those things. So I think, and then I think keeping up with social media, I think the constant drip of social media on top of all of that, where you feel like, even just keeping up with, at the moment there's obviously a lot, as there should be, of discussion about climate change and what we need to be doing. And then you've got, discussion about race. Again, 100% that needs to happen. Or conversations about women and working from home, and whether we're all those things. They're massive topics but it is constant that those are all coming in. And I think we haven't worked out how we manage them and how you process them and have time to process them, because you feel like you have to have an opinion on all of them really, really quickly and be sharing. And if you're not sharing, does that mean that you don't have an opinion, so you're a bad person? Because what, do you think it's okay that people are behaving in this way, or they're wasting energy, or they're racist, or they're... And obviously, no, you don't. So you've got to project something. And I felt really strongly, probably mid-2020, that I couldn't go down the performative route. I felt really uncomfortable about it. Just to keep posting things to show, look, I'm really woke and I really know what I'm doing and I'm a really good person. It just made me feel really uncomfortable. And I don't think anybody who is a real, authentic champion of any of those things likes that anyway. I know I've read lots of criticism of the Black Square, for example, with Black Lives Matter. And it's like, because it's not enough. It's not enough to just post a square and then, I've done my piece and everyone can see that I've done something. And I think it's the same for loads of topics, but there's so much. And I suppose 2020 was so mental for lots of people that there wasn't time to process which of these things that you could put your energy to, or which should you put your energy to, or how do you convey that, or do you need to convey that? Because actually, do you need to just internally be doing the work, having the conversations with your family, with your friends, which actually is probably more of a priority. But I don't know. That's probably a really long-winded conversation, but I do think that on top of when you're dealing with work and children and responsibility of not fucking your kids up and employees or your colleagues or all that stuff, that's in addition, we've got this whole backdrop of noise that is a lot to process.
It really is, isn't it? And it, as you say, it feels you want to honor all of these major topics and, you know, turning points in life with the time and space they deserve, but you're still kind of spinning plates and juggling, and it's hard, isn't it? It can wear heavy on your heart. Like you can feel.
It depends on what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
Or if you are somebody who is a worrier or has empathy, and I think I probably do have reasonably high empathy, like then I don't know, I think there's just a lot. There's a lot. And that definitely leaves me feeling burnt out. If I'm not in a good place to handle it, if that makes sense. Because I think if you're feeling calm and in control, you can handle more.
Yeah, it's hard because I think a lot of empaths like you, and I think of like the teachers who were like teaching virtual school and then sorting their own kids out, and I'm thinking of the healthcare workers and just anyone who is like has that empathy and compassion and thinking about others and trying to serve others. It's so.
I put myself in the same boat as some of these people.
You know, well, I know, Steph, but I also, honestly, when I heard that interview and you said you didn't want to include a journal in the package because you didn't want to give someone else more work to do, as someone who was flat out and burnt out and like bad heart attack symptoms, it's been awful. That really did like shine a light for me, and I thought, oh, she gets it. You know. So I just think it's so difficult, isn't it, to have that space and carve that space out for yourself to process other things going on, because it's so easy to just continue with the everyday life of loading the dishwasher, doing the kids' dinner, sorting this out, sorting home, like, you know, doing those day-to-day things, plus what is happening around you and wanting to kind of, you know, take that in and learn and move forward with that. There's a lot going on for people to process.
Yeah, and I suppose what we didn't have as well was the kind of release points that you would normally wait, which might be sitting down with some girlfriends, or I don't know, going out for a nice meal or something. All those that wasn't there. So again, maybe some of those things help us more than we know they do sometimes.
Yes.
Kind of clear slate, go home. I've had that conversation. I've moaned about my husband or whatever it is, and we didn't have that. I mean, it's mental, really, when you think what we have done for the last 18 months. Like, I don't think anyone's got their head around it, honestly. The fallout from it, I just can't even imagine how many relationships have been permanently damaged and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's so true. The ripple effect is huge, because it only takes one person in your household to kind of be having a tough time for then the ripple effect to, you know, on partners, kids, whatever.
Yeah, and also,
you know,
usually probably it's a bit more spaced out, so one of you might be having a bad time, so the other one kind of picks up the pieces. And actually we've found, like, and I mean, we're married, it's up and down because it just is, and I don't feel like I have to pretend otherwise. I think lots of people, I think when I got married, I thought, oh, well, this is just a one-way road to happiness because it just gets better and better. Sometimes it does, and other times it doesn't. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. But we didn't, neither of us had capacity for each other. Like, there's a point where you have to be kind to each other. And we've had various phases in the last 18 months when neither of us have had it. So you're just moving around the house as two separate entities, kind of logistics, managing the children. Right, you got a meeting? Okay, I've got a meeting. Right, I'll have to do this thing and you'll have to do that thing. And it's very practical. And that's really sad, because then you just feel, no one feels good about that. And you can get it back. I think it just is a cycle. Like overwhelm, really. I think it's a cycle. It's not like you're in it and then you're floored by it and you're in it permanently. I just think the way we live our lives means that we just seem to fall back into it quite regularly, or I do anyway.
Yeah, and when you're having a tough time, you kind of crave that connection with someone who you just want them to say, oof, I see that's really hard for you. That's what you want. But when they're having a tough time as well, you miss that. And so, it's kind of like damage limitation. Let's just avoid each other for a little bit. But then at the same time, you're just left there feeling so, it's kind of cold and lonely. You're kind of like, I just need to be hugged.
Yeah. But not because I'm really cross with you, but I do need a hug,
Exactly. I love how real you are about your relationship. It's fantastic because we all experience it, but not many people are upfront and honest and being like, yeah, he drives me nuts today.
I think I'm lucky that Doug he's very confident, he's very comfortable in himself. So he can take it. And also I'm never just saying he's crap, he's bad. It's usually I did this really stupid thing. I have been an awful nag. It's both. Generally, it's not one or the other. It will be behaving less than.
I love that. And you've been through a lot together, haven't you, Steph? Because when you
15 years that we've been together, I think.
Isn't it crazy where time goes? Part of me still feels like that 22-year-old in the pub, not knowing what to do with my life. And then sometimes I look and go, what the heck happened there?
No, it's the first thing in the morning you look in the mirror and like, oh dear God. I give it away. Like, oh, I'm so tired.
It's so true. Yeah. Oh dear. And you talk a lot about the mental load that I think so many couples, when you're running a business or you're, pursuing, a passion, it's so difficult to. I feel a lot of women, I know I certainly did, you just take your share of it and you carry on, as opposed to saying, come here, let's split this down the middle. And you've been really good with that, haven't you?
I think, well, we try, but then we have phases where we're less good at it. And I think it's like an ongoing process, really. I think when I first started the business, it was a lot, and I underestimated how much you can't. And I think I see this with quite a lot of women. It's probably one of the reasons that a lot of more female business, or there's less businesses run by women, and they might not last so long because generally they're also still doing the majority, or at least more of the mental load, the work at home, the running the house, the childcare, the primary care, position, and then. But you can't just add a business on top. You can't. It's such. If it depending. I mean, it depends. If it's a sort of side hustle, that's something different. But if you're trying to run an actual business, you can't add it into everything you did before and think that you can survive it. I don't think. And it took me a while to realise that. And that was where we had to have some quite big conversations to say, because actually, prior to me having the business, I probably did step into much more of a traditional female role, like the role that we were modelled by our parents, and that actually has been around for a long time. So what we're trying to do now is quite a big step. Yeah. And I think we underestimate that sometimes, in that we don't know how to do it. There's no one has taught us how to do it. We didn't see it necessarily. I mean, my mum worked, and she'll say, I work, but she was the primary carer. She was at the sports days. She was at the assemblies. Dad may have been there, but generally wasn't as much. Yeah. And that was their setup. And for lots of people that worked, and for lots of people that still works now. But if you are trying to have a career, you do need to find a way to better split that. Or if you're a single parent, you would have to find a way to not be doing everything and get some more help if you can. Or it's really difficult, because I know it's not straightforward for everybody, but we can't just do more. There's nothing left. And this is why I think probably we do get burnt out, because you can do it, but you can't do it long term.
No, exactly. It's so true. And, when you have those brushes with burnout, when you can feel them coming on, Steph, because, you run a business, and, a business is responsible for livelihoods. There's a lot of pressure there, isn't there? And
I really feel that. I didn't feel that at the beginning, because there was a few people helping out here and there, and it was
in your house. Yes.
Yeah. And it wasn't a lot of money, and it wasn't like salaries, whereas now there's a team of over 20.
Wow.
It's their mortgages and their rent and their holiday and their childcare, and you kind of go, well, their savings, they have to get paid, so this has to work. You can't just have a day where you go, oh well, it doesn't matter today and we won't bother. That is it definitely keeps me awake at night.
I bet. I can remember talking to the author Penny Wincer, and I know you've spoken to her as well. She's lovely. And she was saying that, you know, as a mum to a special needs little boy, like she had no option to burn out. Like she had to stay abreast of like taking rest and managing things, because there is no option. And do you feel that kind of pressure as well?
Penny's really good actually about, she's like, I need my time.
She's
and
fabulous.
I think she was like, I have to have that, because if I don't keep myself together, then it all going to fall apart anyway. Sorry, what was the question? You asked me a question.
Yeah, so do you feel that same kind of, do you use that as a benchmark? Like, I have to kind of look after myself and I can't afford to burn out. I have to like manage myself because of my business being responsible for livelihoods.
I think sometimes better than others. So I think probably I've been through a phase recently, like we launched a new website that required quite a lot of longer hours, from not just from me, from the team as well. So I know they were feeling it, and just a lot of effort and energy. And I think when you're adding in more, but there's no extra time, it's not like you're taking anything out, then it does feel overwhelming. And there is a part of me that I remember, I'm sure I've said this before, but my uncle, who was a baker and is a farmer, and this is probably about a year into the business, he's like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, oh God, it's exhausting. I'm really tired. It's really hard work. And he's like, I don't know where everyone stopped thinking that it was hard work. I don't know why people think it's easy. And there is an element of, if you want to run a business, it is going to take a lot of hard work. And I know people kind of go, oh, but if you love it, you will put your energy into it. It's like, it's still hard work. It's still that responsibility. And so I suppose it's working out what you can put in place to mean that when certain times happen, like, for example, it's Christmas coming, so I know it's going to be really busy for us. Putting things in place that mean that you are going to be okay, or like getting some sleep, or turning down some social occasions, or eating well. That one's probably a big one, like where you know you're getting some vitamins and some nutrients. And to do that, you've got to have made sure you've got the shopping in, because otherwise you'll turn to a takeaway or eat a crap sandwich, and it doesn't help you feel any better. Like, we know that, right? You know what you put into your body, or boozing doesn't really help.
No.
It's really nice. To all those things, I think, they're ways where I can kind of try and grip back some control. But there are points where it just is really busy and it's kind of head down. And maybe that's not the right message, because I think sometimes there's a lot of more messaging out there saying, oh, we shouldn't feel like that. Well, I don't know what the answer is to that, because sometimes you have to work really hard.
Yeah, I think it's a relatable message. Like, I think so many people can, it's just making sure that your passion, your hobby, your business, whatever you're working on does well. Like, you want to do that. But it's, for me, it's kind of learning to just stay below the bar, because I find I can over rev and just put all my eggs in one basket. And I think it is just sometimes staying below the bar. It's easier said than done, isn't it? It's tricky. And you're
right. It's when you feel it coming, can you stop?
Yes.
Get an early night. It's all that stuff. Because we do know now, I'm 40 years old. I've done it enough times that I should know when that's coming.
Yes.
But sometimes, like I had a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing at Henley Literary Festival. I interviewed 3 or 4 people. I had Fee and Jane from the Fortunately podcast, who were amazing. And then I got the opportunity to interview them again like a week later, because their interviewer got COVID, I think. Oh. And these were opportunities that were just amazing.
Yeah.
We planned a date night because we really needed one. And so I was starting to with the kids the next morning, so I was going to have to stay over and all this stuff. And Doug was like, you have to do that. That is an opportunity that doesn't come along every other week. You should do that. And I wanted to, but I kind of needed him to say that, so I didn't feel so bad about it. And and then there was just a load of stuff that week, and then that meant I did feel burnt out. But it's hard sometimes, because if those things are happening, I don't know, it's difficult. So that's not helpful, is it? That's not the kind of...
No, but you know what? You know what, Steph? It's a real chat. That's what we wanted. Yeah. Because people are listening to this and, maybe they've read the magazine articles that are like 5 top tips for managing burnout, and they were no help to me when I was on the floor. Yeah. I think it's the real conversations we need. And you've always been a brilliant advocate of naps save lives.
So now you're talking.
Yes.
I get on board with. I just need more of them in my life. Yeah. They help everything. It's that feeling of like when you are feeling really exhausted, and that particularly was when I had small, when Frank was small, my youngest, that was when that kind of came about. And it was like, I cannot get enough sleep at night because there's a baby waking up. But there is an opportunity to sleep in the day if I take it. And I think, I know with my, I know people get annoyed by the message of, sleep when the baby's sleeping and all that stuff. But there is something in it. And I think with my first two, I felt I had to be productive when they slept, or I was answering emails or on social media or something. I was doing something. And actually, with Frank, the minute he was down, I was down, or he'd sleep next to me. And it was like, don't dick about, don't go and finish off those things and unpack the dishwasher, because that will still be there. But if you've had like half an hour or 40 minutes of beautiful sleep, you will feel so much better, because you need it. We need it. Our bodies need it.
It works wonders, doesn't it? And it's only afterwards that you're like, I should do this more often.
And it's really easy not to, because you've just got to finish that thing, and I've just got to finish that thing, and then the time's gone. There's like the baby wakes up if you've got a small baby, or it's time for pick up or whatever, and you've lost that opportunity. I don't do it that often. At the weekend I would sometimes, if I'm feeling knackered, I will. But every now and then I'll do it in the day when I'm working, and I'm just like, I can't keep my eyes and I'll sneak upstairs from that, and that feels like, but I generally won't tell anyone, because that feels really like in the middle of the day. Should be, but
I mean, it's perfect because of what you're putting out into the world every day in your work. It's silly, isn't it, that we're kind of thinking, I can't tell anyone because that feels a little bit self-indulgent, but really, like
it's like cleaners. How many people have cleaners but you don't really tell anyone that you've got a cleaner, or you don't? I mean, I can happily tell you I've got a cleaner, although she did her back in and she was off for age, and I think possibly that did tip me over the edge, because that was something that I'd taken out of I don't pick up a hoover. I'll be honest, I don't pick up a hoover. I do very, very little in between her coming. And that was a way to manage our time in the house and everything else. And not having that through me. But I do think that there's still, and again, probably carried over from our mums, maybe our parents, where it feels very, it is very middle class to have a cleaner. And so is it something that we probably should be doing ourselves? I've still got friends I've got a friend actually whose partner refuses for them to have a cleaner. And I'm like, surely you just get one. I know. And it causes real rows.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't want someone else in my house. And you're like, are you going to do it?
I was going to say, that's fine if you're going to put in all of the work then, matey. Come on, it's just stuff.
I think that's probably a genuine conversation going on for lots of people. And also, like, obviously financially, there is a cost to it.
Yeah.
It depends on what you do and it's down to individual setups, isn't it? What you can trade for that,
Yes, I think it boils down to each individual, like what is going to help you, as you say, like it's taking things out of your bucket, like to just free up the space and time for you to process the other stuff. So
to properly clean the house is probably 4 to 6 hours, like including laundry and everything. It's probably 4 to 6 hours easy. As well as, and then that doesn't mean I'm still obviously doing stuff in between. I still will, the dishwasher and the cooking. And
the day-to-day stuff there. Yes.
And it's like, where am I going to find that? Like, where do you find that if you're working full time, and you're both working full time if you've got a partner, and I don't want to spend my Saturday doing it. And actually, weekends are taking kids to netball and football and rugby and all that stuff. So. yeah, I don't know. I think that doesn't help with things like overwhelm, where we still have this picture in our heads of what we should be doing, and it's very much led by the conditioning we had as kids and what we saw our parents do and the way they did it, but we're trying to live very differently.
Yes, it's so true. You know what? I can remember when my son was like little, and I think he was like 2 or 3, and we were in like a toy shop, and he picked up like a little toy iron, and he said, "What's this?" And my mum was mortified. Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, because he doesn't see us iron, because we don't typically. Yeah. And my mum was like, oh my God.
Yeah, this is terrible. I've got a video, and this was a few weeks ago, because the cleaner wasn't here, I had got the Hoover out, and Frank was like, what is this? And genuinely, he's like, this is the Hoover. I mean, ironing's one thing, but even the Hoover. And he's like, 4, he was nearly 4, and he was just picking it up, and he's like, oh, and then I think I plugged it in and turned on, his mind was blown. It's like, that tells you exactly how much hoovering I do. But I can't, no, and I'm not, my house is not pristine. And again, I think that when it does come to overwhelm and burnout, I had to accept, when I started a business and my husband worked, and we both have quite demanding jobs, and we chose to have 3 children, the house is going to be a bit of a shit tip, and I had to be okay with that. And I think when I'm feeling overwhelmed, quite often that is the thing that tips me. Like, I'll be flying around the house going, and this is a mess, and this is a mess, because it just feels so out of control. Yeah. And I think that's something that I've realised about myself more recently, because actually, Doug, I don't think Doug really even sees it, to be honest, which is really unhelpful.
My lot don't. I mean, I'm living in a house of blokes. They haven't got a clue. They don't see any of it.
But the upside of, I guess, of lockdown and not having people over means that no one saw it. So that's good. It's just us at home living.
I know. But if you think about it, if we were to go to a friend's house and we walked in and there was stuff everywhere, I wouldn't be like, blimey, love, get yourself sorted. I'd be like, oh, she's like me.
Do you know, I think probably a generation before us did worry about that. I think also maybe some people still do, but I remember when there was a few of us were in a Daily Mail article a few years ago about slummy mummies, about sort of mum influencers who were living slummily, and it had scummy mummies in there, and the unmumsy mum was in there, and the head teacher at my kid's school, who's left now, she said, by the way, I saw that. And so she was probably, I want to say maybe 10 years old. So, a generation, I guess. Yes. Yeah. She's not old by any stretch, but she had teenage kids rather than young kids. Yeah. And she was like, I really felt that when that I had to pretend, because I think it was a bit of at the time, I think there was quite a lot of people living a beautiful Instagram life, and this article kind of pulled us up, saying, oh, well, they're really slumming it, and they're kind of singing about how great it is because they give their kids fish fingers. And that wasn't it. It was just honesty from lots of people that this Daily Mail journalist didn't like. But the head teacher said, oh, good on you, because when I had small children, I used to worry so much about what the house looked like and what they looked like and what we looked like, and how, worried about all that stuff. And she was like, and it was so unhealthy for me. Yeah. And I thought that was quite interesting, because that's the other kind of perspective of it. And hopefully things have maybe we have a bit more understanding. We're not trying to pretend, or some of us aren't. I guess you still have that in different pockets, but
yeah, you just want to I guess it's accepting yourself, isn't it? And being confident in yourself, and just not worrying what other people think, not worrying. I guess it's like being more present, and the fact that, if you're spending time with your kid, like at the moment, big thing is me sitting with my son who plays guitar and just listen, and I can't play guitar. So I'm just there going, ooh, lovely. Ooh, can you do Oasis? Yeah. I come up with my Britpop hits. Can you do this one for me? Yeah. But that's more important, to just be sat there with him, and he's going to have that memory, and I'm going to enjoy it more than him looking around going, well, she hasn't emptied that dishwasher yet, has she? And she hasn't, he's not looking at that.
When it's like half term, we had a very quiet half term because we were both working, but also like the kids, I hadn't organised anything, and by the time I thought about it, everything was booked because nowadays everything has to be booked. And the kids, like, I've had a couple of days where they were in pyjamas all day. And I did post something about it on Instagram.
I remember it. I love that post, Steph.
I had loads of comments about it. And it was like, God, what is everyone doing? Is everyone else running around like doing stuff? Because what did you do as a kid when you were at home?
Oh my God, like it would be hours and hours just on my own. Like I was brought up, and I was an only child, but I was brought up like, okay, well, we'll see you at dinner time. Like, sort yourself out, love. Yeah. It's what we did. And so hours and hours on my own, like you have that space to be creative. And I think a lot of our kids, we get caught up in, they're busy. They've got busy lives. So actually to have 2 or 3 days in their pajamas, I think it's amazing.
And they loved it. Mine absolutely loved it. And I just thought, right, okay, because it's Christmas is coming. Oh, the pressure of thinking, oh shit, have we booked anything? I've not booked any ice rink. I've not booked queue lights. I haven't booked any of these things. It's like, I don't think they're gonna care.
No.
What we'll probably do is we'll play Monopoly Deal. Doug and I will probably drink too much, and we'll sit around quite a lot. And that's all I'm going to really want to do. It almost makes me nervous that this year we can see people, because it's like I don't want to put too much in, because then I'm not present. You can't be, can you? If you're visiting people in other people's houses, the kids disappear. You're not with your kids.
No.
I don't mean that we need to be 100% of the time, but because we both work and life's busy, it kind of.
Yeah, it's nice to sit and play Monopoly deals as opposed to, right, come on, everyone, right, now I'm going to have a shower, then I'll do my hair and put the makeup on, then we'll go round. And I must admit, I really enjoyed last year, just being like, oh, we're all at home. Yeah.
I think I've quite often been asked on podcasts and stuff like, oh, what do you love best? What's your favourite thing to do? And I it's funny reading it back and listening to it, because it was always like, oh, just weekends where there's no plans, and then COVID happened. Oh, every weekend there's no plans. But that's my balance, I think, with the kids, like with life being really busy in the week, is at the weekends, if we can have no plans and we go for a walk and have a gin and tonic and it's chilled. Because also, like, so the eldest is 11. I've only got a few more years, and they're not going to be here anyway, are they? They're going to be hanging out with mates. And already it'll be like, oh, can I go to so-and-so's house? Or there's someone who lives around the corner. Can we go and do that? And I'm always like, oh, but I didn't used to see friends at the weekend when we were kids. I don't know, that's just my parents. But I've got loads of siblings, so I think they're kind of like, well, you can't do that, because then people won't have each other if you not just stay here. And so I wasn't when I was a teenager, but not when I was sort of younger. With school holidays, we didn't see friends, I don't think, really. It was more like family visits and just us at home.
And just adventures at home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Oh, it is fun.
That nostalgia, and it probably didn't feel great at the time, but I suppose with reflection, you can look back and go, actually, that was probably quite good for us as kids.
Well, we had that space to do whatever we wanted, like be whatever we wanted, and have those creative projects on the go, as opposed to it being something you carved out and go, oh, well, on a Saturday afternoon between 2 and 4, we'll do this. You just did whatever you wanted. Yeah. And I think, I miss that. Yeah. I know. So I've also heard you talk about exercise, Steph, as being something that really helps you. And that was a shock for me, learning, because I'm awful. I've resisted exercise all my life. But when I was really burnt out, I learned that actually exercise, that's going to speed your recovery up. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how that helps you.
Yeah, I think it all goes hand in hand for me. It's the exercise, the eating, and I don't mean sort of super healthy eating, just putting some good stuff into your body, really. Yes. And exercise, like I've had a slip disc a few years ago, so I needed to do sort of Pilates and recovery stuff like that, and get my body strong again. It was just, I think it was probably a bit hereditary because it runs in the family, but also just having kit bashing out too many children. And your body takes its toll on your body because it's a big thing.
It's huge.
We kind of just meant to do and then carry on as normal. So yeah, I think it also for me it's something I do on my own generally. Although I did join a netball team a couple of years ago, and I'm terrible. I was not sporty as a kid. I did loads of drama and mime club and that kind of thing. It's like sport wasn't my thing at all. I'd never done team sports. And so I joined a netball team and I'm really bad, which is really weird because as an adult, you don't tend to do stuff you're not very good at.
But it's so good for us to do that,
exactly.
You know?
It's fun. It's with a group of women who are all really lovely. It's funny. There's lots of laughing. I hope they're not sitting there going, for God's sake, woman, just catch the ball.
No.
And they're really encouraging when you do catch the ball. I mean, I'm so bad that when I catch the ball, I'm almost in shock, and then I sort of stop and I don't know what to do, or I lob it at someone that's a really bad pass. So I'm hoping I'll improve. But yeah, it is. It's. I guess we don't play. So I suppose the exercise thing is good for me, and it's good for my body. It's good for my mind. But it's not a total. When I go and play netball, I can't think of anything else because I have to really concentrate. Whereas if I'm on a spin class or doing a Pilates, your brain is still ticking over stuff, isn't it?
Well, it's so easy to listen to a podcast in whatever industry you're working in. It's still, it's very tempting when I'm on my lips. You don't switch off, do you? No. Whereas netball, like, I think that's fantastic. And like how
I'd really recommend it,
yes,
something like that. Because then also generally there's a load of women there. There's some who are brilliant, who are obviously the ones who did it at school and at university, and they are like, you're like, oh God, I'm so sorry because this must be really frustrating for you. But they're all just good women who want to escape on a Tuesday night.
Exactly, but also just to do something just for the hell of it, as opposed to having to produce something of top quality standard. Yeah. You can just go, know what, here I am, let's have a go, let's see if I can catch it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So would you say you've had lots of brushes with burnout over the years, Steph, or do you generally it's interesting to talk to women because some will say, oh, I've had it from like 20s onwards, like regularly. Yeah. And then some have said like, oh, no, I've managed to just kind of keep it in touch.
No, I think I don't know if burnout is too strong a word, but in terms of feeling overwhelmed, I think that's pretty regular for me. And I think it's a cycle because I'll hit it and then I will put things in place to help myself. And then it's back on the cycle again because then it will mount and more things happen and then I feel it again. And so sometimes I'll catch it and sometimes I won't. But I think I am a worrier. I quite like to plan and have control. And obviously when you've got 3 kids in a business, you don't really always feel those things. And I think even as a kid, I remember my mum bought me a book that was like a sort of jokey book of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff when I was quite young because I was always worrying about things. So I think that is in me to be like that.
Yeah.
And even I can remember weirdly, I can remember as a kid, every now and then, like being in the car and feeling light and saying like to my mum, oh, I don't think I'm worrying about anything. And looking back, that's quite weird because I was a kid. I didn't have any responsibilities. So I obviously just often, my head was just spinning with stuff. And I don't sleep very well. I'm in a particularly bad cycle of sleep at the moment. I wake up at 4 and I'm awake.
Yeah.
And my head is on. And I think that's, I'm just worrying and running through lots of things. And I don't know the solution yet to what that is. I know the things we said, if I'm exercising and switching off earlier before I go to bed and not trying to juggle too much and all those things, then it's better. But I haven't cracked it yet.
And you know what, Steph, I think this will be so refreshing for people to hear because, it can be very easy to see, well, you just see one side of it, don't you, on social media, and you just see people like just winning at life.
And one of my worst things is when people say, oh, how do you do it all? And you're like, I don't. I'm dropping shit all over the place.
But I love that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've shared a lot less in the last, probably since sort of summer 2020, where I just felt it was too much for me to do. And also, there is a part of me that thinks, does anyone really need to hear from me again? Like, there's plenty of people whose voices need to be heard more than mine. And I'm conscious of that. So I suppose there's an element of that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But I'm definitely shared less. Like, I can go for quite a long time before I post, and I'm trying to just be okay with that, because it's not meant to be something that becomes a job in itself.
I know. And I think that's a true testament to how genuine and authentic you are. Because it's not just, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of us use our Instagram as maybe a platform to kind of show what we're doing with our lives or businesses or passions. But I think the fact that you are someone who's kind of saying, just going to take a little break, it just shows how real and in it you are, which is just so lovely and refreshing. Because I think a lot of us can measure ourselves against other people, you know, and I think it's okay to say, oh, it's a little bit shit at the moment. I'm just in it and I'm still going, you know, because it's hard sometimes to sit in that discomfort of life is a little bit shit at the moment. It can be very difficult because we're so used to putting on like the jazz hands and doing our best.
I've definitely noticed as well that, and when you say, oh, it's a bit shit, sometimes people don't know how to handle that. And that's also difficult. You know, I think, I saw someone and I was crossing, I had Frank in one arm and a scooter in the other, and I was trying to get to the rugby pitch because I was late, and I promised Buster I'd get there, and it was bloody miles, and I was driving, and so I bumped into someone. They said, how are you? And I was like, oh, do you know what, I'm just really angry at the moment. And you could see their face like, oh, what do I say to that?
What do I say?
It came out with, and I was like, oh no, I was like, I'm fine. I'm just a bit tired and I don't feel like I'm coping very well, or something like that. And people don't really know what to say to that. And, you know, fair enough. But I think I have a really good network of people that I can talk to and share with, and friends, and a husband who's brilliant, really, when I'm not moaning about him. And like, I think I am comfortable to say that, but it's interesting seeing that people don't know how to react to it, because actually there's probably people who won't say, though, who wouldn't say, and then what are they doing? Like, they're feeling more and more shit, or thinking, well, everyone else is coping, or I have to put across something that I'm coping really well, and it's not good for anyone, really.
It isn't. I was going to say, it probably says a lot more about what their experience versus ours. Yes, but there's a whole host of people like me, Steph, who just love to hear you say, I am angry today. Oh, fantastic. Oh, Steph, well, at the end of my conversations, I've been asking people some like quick fire, light-hearted questions, because everyone answers so differently. So if you're up for it. Yeah. Okay, so on your dodgy, tough days, do you opt for lemon in water or lemon in gin? Where do you take your vitamin C?
I do love a gin, but I do try and have a hot water and lemon hot water in the morning. I don't know why. I don't know that it's actually doing anything good for me, but I know I've read that it should do. So it's like, I don't want to give it up just in case.
No, and I think I look in the mirror sometimes in the morning and go, ooh, anything that can help take away the...
If I'm not doing that, it might be even worse. So...
Okay, so move your body or move the remote?
Move your body.
Ah, yes, it helps you. Bag of almonds or bag of Maltesers?
No, I don't like Maltesers.
Do you not?
My teeth go funny. No.
Really?
Yeah, the honeycomb. Well, it makes my teeth.
You're like, no, you can have all of those.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you ask for help or are you happy to hermit?
I think I start by hermiting, if that's a word. I withdraw and then I will ask for help.
It's hard asking for help, isn't it? I struggle. But maybe coming from a big family, is it kind of more natural for you to ask for help?
I don't know if it is. I think if anything, you're more independent. You've got to just
Oh,
keep going.
really? Okay.
Yeah, probably, but I think I'm all right to ask. I think I will beat myself up quite a bit first, and then I will ask for help.
Oh my God, so many people are going to be like, yeah, I do that. We've got to get in that, beat myself up first.
Yeah.
So many of us do it. And so what's the one self-compassionate thing you're going to do for yourself today that your future self will thank you for?
Yeah, so it's Frank's birthday, and so I'm going to pick him up early and pick up Mabel early, and then we're going to have a little tea party because I had to cancel his birthday party because of all them having COVID. So I think we were not one of them, my other one having COVID. He's not anywhere. So I think, I want to probably have a drink with Doug and say, oh my God, we survived the first 4 years of a third child.
I know.
And switch on and make sure I don't go back to my emails, because quite often when the kids are in bed, then I'll go back, but that isn't going to help me tonight. So that's my self-compassion.
Putting in that boundary. It's funny how we naturally gravitate to just doing more work, because you think you're taking things off the list, but actually you'd be better just to break and have a rest. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Oh, now before we go, Steph, I'd love to talk a little bit about your incredible Christmas packages on your website. I was looking at them and they are bloody beautiful. And what I love about Don't Buy Her Flowers is that, I think many of us have had like a little package from one service or another. And it's really hard to be like, oh, you've sent me this because you forgot my birthday. Or you just don't know. I mean, you're just ticking off the list. And usually it's something that you're like, oh God, okay, well, I'll have to donate this or I'll give this or whatever. Whereas your packages are just so beautiful that like you've curated them like incredibly. And I just love you, because I think what would be really helpful, anyone listening to this, like Christmas is coming and it's really hard what do you get people like now? Like we've all come out of a pandemic. We've all realized we need way less stuff. We all know that we need more connection than, material items. And I think your packages really do promote that idea of when someone receives them, it really is like, this is for you. Like, I see you. This is for you. Take time, look after yourself. And so, I'd love to just touch on that before we leave, because that must have taken a lot of work to curate those beautiful packages.
What I probably didn't say earlier on as well is that we added the create a gift options, which is where the customer can pull together the package completely bespoke. So we have some like set packages that we've curated and stuff, but you also can from about 200 products. And they're in categories, so it's not just this massive product, but it might be like beauty or food and drink or accessories or whatever, and you can go in and hand pick those things. So it is still thoughtful. It still feels like you've put something together as if you've been to the shops and hand picked some stuff. And then obviously we beautifully gift wrap it and your tag message is handwritten on there. So I think that's again what keeps us slightly separate from lots of other kind of packages. I think we found last year as well, people, when it's Christmas, people don't actually need loads and loads of food and drink. Like that's the thing you've generally got. So the stuff that's going to help you relax a bit over Christmas, or to like switch off and read a book, or crossword puzzle or face mask, or it's those things I think that we found really popular. Bubble bath, actually, we've got a lovely Neil jar bubble bath. It's really popular. And I think it's like going, here you go, make it a really nice bath and just have some time.
Just helping them feel, just reminding them to take care of themselves. Because I think a lot of us get caught up in that hamster wheel of, getting ready for Christmas and just trying to do 50 things. And it's kind of,
we're just trying to please everybody a lot. I think women in particular, Christmas is all about making it magical and making it. And then by Boxing Day, you're just a resentful mess.
I know.
Thinking, oh my God. Or not, even if you're not resentful, you're probably a nicer person than me. Who's not resentful, but just is spent and just completely knackered.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And so people can go onto your website and have a look at all the packages, and you've got all your cut-off dates and everything. So that's fantastic.
We've got a little while yet. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It'll be brilliant. Oh, Steph, it's been so lovely chatting to you today. It's just so lovely to speak to someone who's so open and honest, and this is how it is.
It's a massive whinge bag.
No, absolutely not. I think you're just saying it how it is. No, not at all. You never do, Steph. You never do. In your social media.
I'm thinking of something I'm quite conscious of, hopefully. But yeah, you're always going to get someone saying, oh, for God's sake, stop droning on. That's all right. I'm not going to please everybody.
They're not listening to this podcast.
No, that's true. This is about burnout and overwhelm, right?
Yeah, this is about people listening to this are at the end of their tether, and they're trying to decide, like, it's been lovely, actually, the response. I've had people email me saying that they like binge listened to the whole 2 seasons and have just been kind of, it's helped them identify that they've had burnout. Because that's another thing I think a lot of us don't even realise, that we're, playing with fire, and it's helped them to realise. So I think someone listening to you today, Steph, are going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to have a nap. I'm going to have a nap. I'm going to not worry about my house.
Well done to you for keeping the conversation going.
Oh, well, I think we need to be doing it, because I don't know, it's not easy. You feel very alone and isolated in burnout. And there's that shame piece, which I don't know why we feel it. And I was a mental health writer, but I still felt it, so it's just lovely to have this lovely, refreshing, honest conversation with you, darling.
Good. Thank you. Enjoy your day, because it's morning there, isn't it?
It is. And we've had some hail and snow.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, here we go, winter. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to have a big, strong cup of Yorkshire Gold tea.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll get me through. Okay, well, thanks for chatting, Steph. You take care. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Everyday Burnout Conversations. Please check the show notes for any links to items discussed today, and the original music and sound editing is by Chris Taylor. If you've enjoyed this podcast and have a spare few minutes, then it would be absolutely amazing if you could leave me a happy starry rating and review. It really does help this podcast reach a little further, and I'd just love it to land in the lap of those who, like me, last year are perhaps feeling isolated and lonely in their burnout struggle. Please note, this podcast is not intended as medical advice. Remember, you matter, so don't hesitate to reach out to your doctor or mental health professional for support if you're having a rough time. Wishing you a great week and take good care of yourself. Bye for now.